Hey, it's Phoebe here. I wanted to share with you something pretty cool with you today. So, in just 3 months, I wrote and published a mini book, and then I produced and released a 10 episode mini podcast series. And these focused on a core problem that my clients struggle with, and it gave them a transformative tool or multiple tools and frameworks to help them pass it. And today I want to share this with you, how I did it, so that you can do it too. So I've always been a bit of a procrastinator, often leaving things to the last minute, but then struggling with that pressure. I am a creative person, and sometimes I find myself swept away with shiny objects. But then I get hit with that analysis paralysis that just keeps me stuck. Throw in a touch of perfectionism. I will always consider myself a recovering perfectionist. And you've got a boiling pot of obstacles to overcome. But I am much better at getting things done these days. Why? Because I have come up with my own strategies and processes that work for me. And one of those processes is what I have dubbed the mini method. I just have to come up with a cool name for everything. The mini method is a way to show your expertise, to show up and make an impact without the overwhelm. And the great things about this process are the clarity you find from writing about your topic, starting and finishing quickly so that you get to feel that sense of accomplishment and achievement. How it avoids the ongoing pressure you feel from a long-term project, that kind of project that will slowly drain your energy and your enthusiasm. Plus, there's the added bonus of having lots of content to share with your audience that really speaks to the core of their problem. Not to mention the opportunities that come from putting your ideas out there and really starting to share them with the world. So this method is a perfect way of showing up for coaches, but as someone who is quieter and more introverted, I find this a breath of fresh air. It helps me to lean into one of my favorite things, which is writing. And basically just avoid that weight of the heavy long-term projects that we can put ourselves under. I mean, the word mini just makes me feel really chilled out. So what is involved in this process, and how did I do it in just 3 months? Well, the first part is to get clear on the core of the problem for my clients. And that was to identify what that problem is, explore the actions that they take because of that, what it causes them to do, and then the results from those actions. And to help you with this, I have come up with the acronym SPARE. Rest assured, this has nothing to do with Prince Harry. The first letter, S, stands for situation. And this is a situation that your clients are in related to what you help them with. So an example would be the people I help, quiet, introverted coaches who have a desire to help others. They have thoughts, ideas, and opinions that could transform people's lives, but they feel uncomfortable sharing them and putting themselves out there. Next, we want to identify the core problem they are facing in that situation. So the problem is they are feeling uncomfortable because of a fear of judgment, a fear of rejection, of conflict. They don't want to rock the boat or upset anyone. Or sometimes it can be the complete opposite, and they don't think anyone will care at all. Then we look at the actions that they are taking because of this problem. So the actions are, it could cause them to second guess themselves, to more often than not stay silent and avoid sharing those thoughts and ideas and opinions with the world. And now we go a little bit deeper and we look at the result of these actions. And the result would be something like, this means they aren't being their true selves, they're not being authentic, they are not connecting with those that they want to help, and they are ultimately not making the impact that they really desire to make, which has a knock-on effect, and they don't have enough clients and they're not then able to show some of the results that they can create. So that is the result from the actions that they are taking because of the problem. And then finally we get to understanding the emotions that they are feeling because of this result. And in this example, the emotions are that it could be causing them to feel like they aren't good enough, that they're not cut out for it, they feel unworthy, undervalued, useless even. So everything that you learn from this process is really helpful to come up with the solutions that they need, and that's the next section. But it's also part of the content that would go into the book and the podcast, and that's what I did. So the next stage before we move on to the solutions was that I actually decided to name this problem, specifically the problem and action that they weren't taking. So I basically did a bit of research and brainstorming, and it led me to the term self-censoring. But then I ultimately decided to go with the term self-silencing because it really fit with what I was speaking to, who I was speaking to, and how it was really showing up. It was self-censoring, but more in a way of silencing themselves. So now I have a name for this problem. This was fairly unique. I couldn't find many people talking about it. And so it became the term that I am going to be synonymous with and be able to share that problem and the term that I use for it. So that was the first part, getting clear on the core problem that I solve for my clients. But now I wanted to come up with the solutions to help them with that. And that was to come up with frameworks and tools that are going to help them past some of that challenge. So I came up with various methods to basically help them tackle this problem or begin to tackle this problem. And one of those is my framework Impact Rules, which is what is my core coaching program. But there were others that I call 10-minute solutions. And these are quick tools, methods, frameworks, and mindset approaches that tackle an even smaller part of that problem. And I'm going to give you a way to think this through for yourself, but the idea is that these are 10 minutes or less, like they take 10 minutes or less to complete, and they help them with a new way of thinking or doing something that solves the problem that they have. So to help you with this, I came up with this idea of closing the gap. So you want to think about the starting point, where they are now. And then you want to think about the destination, where do they need to be? And then in between, this is the need, this is what they need to move from that starting point to the destination. So here is an example. My clients are often stuck in their heads and worried about what people think. But where I want them to be, or where they need to be, is to be focusing on the impact that they can make for their clients. So what they need to know or believe is the actual impact that they can make, to be able to see that in some way, in some form. So from this, I came up with a couple of ideas, some frameworks, tools to help them. And one of these is the what if game, which is really simple reframing tool, reframing technique to shift the focus from self to service. So it's taking them from the thoughts of what if someone says something negative to what if I share this and change somebody's life today. So really simple exercise to help them do that. I came up with a few other tools though, and all of them just take a couple of minutes. There's something really quick to just do on a piece of paper, and I can offer a resource along with them to even help a bit further if needed, but they're really quick, simple things. And because it's fun, they all have a name. So the what if game, the comfort level matrix, and the ripple effect, all of these things have different names because it's just fun. I got to come up with names for these things. So once I had these tools, these ideas that could be the solution, and then I already had an understanding of the problem and everything, that's when I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this? I could create courses, I could do all sorts of different things. And I decided to create a mini book in the end. Now, initially I was writing a book for impact rules, but as I was getting into that, I was finding there was a lot to go into it about this problem of self-silencing, about the tools that I wanted to share, and it just really became its own book. So I thought having a mini book just on this topic would be perfect, and it felt super exciting. And because I wasn't expecting to release my book or finish my book anytime soon, so I thought this would be a really exciting thing to do, to publish, to give it a go, and really, just get the motivation going. So I only had a few things in mind with this: to keep it short and simple and to not overthink it. And I was loosely aiming for around 50 pages at a minimum, but that was it. And that was only because I wanted it to be an actual book and have some substance to it, but not be too big. So 50 pages at a minimum, which I actually achieved. I firstly reviewed all of my blogs to see if I'd written anything that could tie into the topic, the problem that I was talking about, the situation, the emotions, any part of the where I'd researched and what I'd come up with. And I did have a few things, so I started with those. I took that blog and then I developed the idea around it, built it out, and I added more about the problem, and I added more about the core reasons behind the problem. And I did a rough draft in just one day, so it was really, really quick. I got it down in just one day. A Sunday afternoon I started doing it, and then by the next day I was like, oh, I've got a rough draft of this book. So I was really pleased with that, to make that much progress pretty quickly. I also had an accountability buddy, Melita Campbell. She's absolutely amazing. She's written books already, and she shared a lot of advice on publishing. And after 2 weeks of two kind of sessions of just sitting down, working together, she's writing her own thing, I'm writing my thing. I kind of got it to a point where it was ready. It was ready to be sent off. It was no longer a rough draft. And so that's when I sent it off to a typesetter. So I looked on Fiverr, and there are lots of people, lots of experts on there who can help you with all the elements of your book. I decided not to get an editor or a proofreader because I felt really confident in my writing and what was in there. I didn't want to overthink it, so I just went for it and got the typesetter to do all of the layout of the book for the print version and then for the actual ebook version. And then I also designed my own cover. I have a background in design, so that was easy for me, but there are plenty of designers on Fiverr and other sites, so that is pretty simple to do as well. And then after a week of back and forth with the typesetter, it was ready, and I was just like, well, I'm just gonna go for it. So I gave myself not long. I didn't want to overthink it or put it down. I just wanted it out there. And so I had a 2-week launch period. So first week was just ahead of the launch date, and then a week of when it was live. So the week before I launched, I sent out an email to my list, my email subscribers, and to a lot of different connections that I've built over time to ask them if they would like to read it and would support me in posting a testimonial on the day of launch, which I had an incredible amount of people come back to me and said they would do it, which was really amazing. I got everything set up on Amazon to self-publish it, and it was so easy to do. It's straightforward, just step by step, and I had no issues. I got the print-proof version sent to me, which took a couple of days, which was really easy, and I had nothing I wanted to change either, so that was great. And then, so I had people lined up to send me their testimonials on the day of the launch, and when it launched, I sent an email out to my email list. I did some social media graphics and posted about it, and I did a whole week of that. So I had scheduled emails going out for the whole week, and then posts as well, which were very much the same kind of content. So I was doubling up on what I was putting out there and sharing about it. And I got those testimonials, created graphics from those to post and share as well. So that was really cool. And I had a lot of lovely people from my connections and from my email subscribers who were happy to share it too, which was incredible. So it was such a joyous occasion, like putting it out there, getting it out there really quickly, just this whole turnaround. And it probably took me all in around 5 to 6 weeks, I think, in the end. It could have been less, but I wasn't tracking the time with that, and I wish I had done, because I would have loved to have seen how much time I spent on all of the different aspects, but you live and learn. But I did, in fact, time track when I did my mini podcast, which was the next step. But anyway, the idea was to create this book quickly and at minimal cost, and it wasn't to make money, it was just to be able to maybe make back the investment that I put into it, which I did, and just to have something that I can talk about this topic, to be able to say that I have this book and be able to hand it out if I go to networking and things. So it's a great way of being able to add credibility, but also really get clear on what my problem is, or the problem is for my clients, and how I help them, and the tools I can create to help them as well. So the fourth step is making that into a mini podcast. And this was really exciting as well, because after I launched, I decided to challenge myself to do this and create a mini podcast. I've always wanted to have a podcast. I even started one years and years ago, but I'd never really progressed with it. I never got that far. And so I thought I would challenge myself to just do this all in one go and see where I get to. So I planned out each episode based on points in the book, and I scripted every single episode. So this is something that I find helps me a lot more in creating content. Like, I need to have a reference. I need to be able to have points to talk about, or at least script to actually read. So that's something that I did, and I expanded on the topics. So I added more context, I added more tips around each thing, and I gave resources as well. So there was lots of extras thrown in. Then I recorded them over a week period. I think it was like a week and a half, but I time tracked all my time, and it's not much. I would get to that. But then I edited them in bulk, which, because of the Christmas period, meant that I was kind of a bit sporadic with that. But again, I tracked my time, so it really wasn't much time ultimately. I created all the graphics and I wrote all the short descriptions, and then I set up the hosting platform. And getting all of the podcasting channels was super easy as well. And then I released all of the episodes in one go. So I had 10 episodes, and some of them are only like 10 minutes long, some are a bit longer. So I thought for those who like to binge listen or wanted more, they could be able to just go through one after another. And each one referenced the book. I talked about the book. I also, as I said, gave extra resources, and also had a call to action to the Visibility Lab, which is the mini program and mini membership that I've created to guide my clients through those problems, which is another video I'll probably do at some point. And after I tracked all my time, it was 36 hours, which is not an awful lot of time when you break it down. That could be done in a week if you have the time to dedicate to it. And that's not including the blog for each one that I'm creating now, and a post that goes out for every single one of them each week just to promote it. That's not including that, but I mean, each one's maybe another 40 minutes, 45 minutes that I'm adding on. So it's adding more, but to get it all out there, to get it done, published, edited, everything was 36 hours. And I really surprised myself. It just took a bit of time because there was a lot going on. I was doing work, got clients, I've got the Christmas period at the time. So there was a lot going on. And it just surprised me. It was really cool to be able to do something and get it out there. So I started writing the mini book around the second week of November 2023. And then by the middle of January 2024, I had all of the podcasts live and out there and released. So it wasn't a long period of time. It was just, there's a lot to do. Of course, there is quite a few moving parts, but I was able to do it in that period of time. And each week I now share some content from the book or from the podcast. So I have all of this stuff that I can share, and the tools as well, getting those out there and sharing them. And also now it helps me with podcast guesting. So I have that idea, I have that topic, and I break it down, talk through it on guest podcasts. So it's a really, really great way to start getting clear on your ideas, to get it out there quickly and start helping people and getting to a point where you're getting it in front of more people through other people's audiences too. That is the process of the mini method, and it was an amazing achievement for me, and I absolutely loved it. And I felt like I've done so much in such little time, and that it's possible. It gave me this incredible feeling of accomplishment and being able to do something like that and put something out there in the world. So some of the questions that I've been asked, or that you might be thinking, is what was the most challenging and what issues did I have? So For the book itself, the one thing that I had an issue with was that some people can't leave testimonials on Amazon if they haven't purchased it, which was something that was helpful to know and learn, especially if I'm going to have another book coming out in the next year or so. Then there was tech issues with the podcast, which is still unresolved, and I haven't gone back to figure this out yet. I'm not able to create an account on Apple Podcasts for some reason, so I need to look more into that. And then one of the things that was challenging was having the long period of time between getting the podcast done alongside other work, as well as the Christmas period and everything. Like, I would have loved to have just been able to sit down for a week and get that podcast all done in 1 week, but it just didn't happen that way, which is if you're doing it for yourself, something that you can figure out. So you could maybe block out the time ahead of schedule so that you can do that, and maybe not do it just before the holidays, which is something I wish, not that I would have changed anything, but it would have been helpful just to keep the momentum and get it out there before Christmas would have been amazing, but I decided to hold off. What did I learn from this? So I learned that I can do things quickly, that I can really focus on one thing and get it done and not be distracted by other things, which is something I tend to do. So when I had that momentum and I was going for it and I got it out there with the book, and then I was like on to the next, which was exciting again, and got it out there, and it was just an incredible achievement for me, but also learning that I can do that I can actually accomplish something that quickly if I put my mind to it. What would I do differently? I think the one thing that I would have changed, if I could have, would have been to extend that launch period of the book so that I could have had more connections involved in the launch. So there were a few people that reached out to me that just said, I can't do this, it's too short notice, which is totally understandable, but they would have supported me and have supported me in the past. So I think that was one thing that if I had had a bit more time, if it wasn't getting close to the holidays and I just wanted to get it out there, I would have extended that period of time. But with some foresight, if you're thinking of doing this, then you would be able to have those dates in mind ahead of time anyway. How much did it cost to publish? So the cost for me was £45. At this point, I've made £52. So I have covered my costs, which is really cool. There is the additional cost of buying the books. I have a stack of them, and they were an additional cost, which I haven't really put into this yet, but they could be sold still. They could be sold individually by myself. So really they don't need to be accounted for. I have covered the cost of getting the typesetter at this point, so I'm happy with that. But as I said, it's not about making money for me. Just having it out there is really incredible. One other question I had was, why didn't I work with an editor or proofreader? That's from a friend, because she knew that I didn't actually have an editor or proofreader. And that's because I am really confident in my ability to write with the writing that I put out there. I feel confident in that. I've been doing a lot of writing for a long time, for clients, for myself, and so I felt like it would add extra time that I didn't want to, and it could be something that I go back and do at a later stage, because the great thing about Amazon self-publishing is you can update it and change it whenever you like, which I find amazing. So I felt safe in that knowledge that I could do that, and maybe I will at some point have a proofreader go through it, but I just wanted to get it out there and do that. And I have the tools, and there's lots of tech available now to help with proofreading anyway, so I was very confident in that, and even had a couple of friends read it that didn't highlight anything. If you're not as confident and you feel like just having someone proofread it, then yeah, you should do that for sure. And one final question. Did I feel rushed? Because someone said that they felt like being able to do it in such a short period of time, I might feel rushed with it, which no, I didn't. I felt like the pressure was really good for me. It was just the right amount of pressure. I wasn't feeling like I had to be done by a specific date, but I was just like, I'm just going to keep working at it to get it done as soon as possible. And that felt good because I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that really kept me motivated. It kept me going and working towards it. So that was, yeah, I didn't feel rushed. I felt excited and eager and motivated, and it felt really good to achieve it. So there you have it. I have created this thing, these things, and this is something that you could do for yourself. It's an absolutely incredible feeling to have these ideas out there, and they're out there helping people, and each day they open new doors for me. And I really am happy that I've managed to do this and managed to create these things. And if you have any questions about this, or if you would like to learn more about how I did it, then I would love to hear from you. So do reach out to me. And yeah, that is it. I hope you found this video useful. And again, if you have questions, just let me know. Bye bye.